Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Learn with Nisha ji. We are studying class 10 science. This is chapter 13 our environment. This is a very good chapter. अगर आप इसका practical use देखो तो आज की era में ये chapter हमारा बहुत important है, right? So if you have not subscribed the channel yet, you can subscribe the channel Learn with Nisha ji for regular updates. See, we have heard environment. Environment word आपने बहुत बार सुना होगा in the television, newspapers, by people around you. Elders tell us that environment is not what I used to be. It used to be earlier. ठीक है? कुछ लोग कहते हैं like work in a healthy environment. ठीक है? Global summits होती हैं that involve developed and developing countries. They are regularly held to discuss environmental issues. Okay? So in this chapter हम यही study करेंगे कि how various components in the environment they interact with each other and how we impact the environment. ठीक है, तो हमारा जो इम्पैक्ट है वो एनवायरनमेंट पे पॉजिटिव हो, अच्छा हो, उसके लिए हमें थोड़ा इसको स्टडी करना चाहिए, राइट? Now first let's study the term ecosystem and what are its components. Okay. So all the organisms like plants, animals, microorganisms and human beings as well as the physical surroundings, okay, they interact with each other and maintain a balance in nature. Okay. So all the interacting organisms in an area together with the non-living constituents of the environment they form an ecosystem. ठीक है, इकोसिस्टम में देखो दो कंपोनेंट्स होंगे, बायोटिक कंपोनेंट्स जो लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स होते हैं, ठीक है, एंड एबायोटिक कंपोनेंट्स जो फिजिकल फैक्टर्स होते हैं जैसे टेम्परेचर, रेनफॉल, विंड, सॉइल, मिनरल्स, ये सब. ओके, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू विजिट अ गार्डन you will find different plants like grasses, trees, flower bearing plants like rose, jasmine, sunflower. Animals you can find like frogs, insects, birds. ठीक है? Now all these living organisms they interact with each other and their growth, reproduction and other activities are affected by abiotic components of the ecosystem. Okay, so garden can be taken as an example of ecosystem. Other types of ecosystems are forests, ponds and lakes. Okay, these are natural ecosystems. ठीक है, और जो gardens और crop fields हैं they are human made या artificial ecosystems जिसे human beings maintain करते हैं, बनाते हैं, right? So now let us see activity 13.1. Okay, it says like you might have seen an aquarium. Aquarium सभी ने देखा है, ठीक है? Let us try to design one. Okay, now what are the things that we need to keep in mind when we create an aquarium? तो हमें क्या क्या देखना है? Fishes, they would need a free space for swimming. Okay, so we can take a big jar, right? Water is needed, oxygen is needed, food is needed. Okay, oxygen we can provide through an oxygen pump या aerator use कर सकते हैं. Okay, fish food, it is available in the market that you can have. Now if we add a few aquatic plants and animals, it can become a self-sustaining system. ठीक है, so we have to think like how this happens. Okay, so aquarium is an example of a human made ecosystem. Okay, now can we leave the aquarium as such after we set it up? Now why does it have to be cleaned once in a while? जब भी आप aquarium रखोगे अगर घर पे, आपको regular intervals पे उसकी cleaning करनी होती है, right? पर क्या बड़े जैसे जो ponds होते हैं, lakes होती हैं, do they need to be cleaned up in the same manner? No, we do not clean them actually. Okay, so let us understand this activity in detail. Okay, so first thing is like we cannot leave the aquarium as it is after setting it up. Okay, it has to be cleaned regularly because see, waste from the fish, uneaten food and algae can build up. It can pollute the water and harm the aquatic life. Okay, but natural ecosystems like ponds, lakes, okay, they do not require regular cleaning in the same way because they have self-sustaining processes. ठीक है, उसमें natural decomposers and water cycles are present. Okay, they will help to maintain balance. Okay, so basically इस activity के through हम क्या study कर रहे हैं? We are studying like natural ecosystems and human-made ecosystems. ठीक है, तो उनका आपको difference clear हो जाएगा. So we have seen in earlier classes that organisms can be grouped as, कैसे कैसे group करते थे हम? producers, consumers and decomposers according to the manner in which they obtain their sustenance from the environment. ठीक है, जैसे let us recall like what we have learned through the self-sustaining ecosystem created by us. ठीक है, which organisms can make organic compounds like sugar and starch from inorganic substances using the radiant energy of the sun in the presence of chlorophyll. ठीक है, कौन से होते हैं organisms? All the green plants and certain bacteria which can produce food by photosynthesis, they will come in this category. और उन्हें हम क्या बोलते हैं? We call them producers. ठीक है, तो हमारे ये producers हो गए. Now, organisms depend on producers either directly or indirectly for their sustenance. Yeah, these organisms, they consume the food produced either directly from producers or indirectly by feeding on other consumers. ठीक है, इन्हें हम consumers कहते हैं. Consumers के भी types होते हैं जैसे herbivores, carnivores, omnivores and parasites. ठीक है. Now, imagine a situation where you did not clean the aquarium and some fish and plants have died. ठीक है. So, have you ever thought what happens when an organism dies? क्या होता है? Microorganisms आते हैं comprising bacteria and fungi. They break down the dead remains and waste products of organisms. ठीक है. Then these microorganisms, they are the decomposers as they break down the complex organic substances into simpler inorganic substances that go into the soil and are used up once more by the plants. Okay. Now, what will happen to the garbage and dead animals and plants in their absence? अगर वो ना हो तो क्या होगा? Pile up हो जाएंगे. Okay. Will the natural replenishment of the soil take place even if decomposers are not there? तो फिर कैसे possible होगा उसको फिर से वो nutrients मिले, right? तो decomposers का बहुत बड़ा रोल होता है हमारे environment में. Now here is a small activity 13.2. While creating an aquarium, did you take care to not put an aquatic animal which would eat others? Okay, what would have happened otherwise? जैसे suppose आपने दो टाइप की fishes ले ली और एक टाइप की फिश दूसरी टाइप ऑफ फिश को ईट करती है, तो आपको ऐसा नहीं करना क्योंकि फिर वो सारी फिशेस को खा जाएगी और उसमें तो फिर जो हमने लाइक सपोज भी इंसर्टेड 15 फिशेस तो कम रह जाएंगी. ओके, so you can make groups and discuss how each of the above groups of organisms are dependent on each other. ठीक है, now write the aquatic organisms in order of who eats whom and form a chain of at least 3 steps. ठीक है, aquatic organisms की बात कर रहे हैं ये. Initially you can have plants. Okay, ये जो means aquatic plants होते हैं. Secondly you can have small fish. वो small fish suppose aquatic plants पे feed कर रही है. Then you can have a big fish which eats smaller fish. Like that you can have. Okay. Now, would you consider any one group of organisms to be of primary importance? Why or why not? So, सबसे ज़्यादा primary importance तो first category की ही रहेगी क्योंकि वो basically जो plants होते हैं they are the primary producers. ठीक है, जो हमारे producers हैं वो. Okay, तो basic जो sunlight को energy में convert कर रहे हैं they are of prime importance, right? So let us study the most important part of this chapter, that is the food chains and webs, right? So in activity 13.4, we have formed a series of organisms. ठीक है, तो हमने जो series of organisms पढ़े थे, they feed on one another. This series of organisms taking part at various biotic levels, they form a food chain, right? तो आप देख सकते हो यहाँ पे फूड चेन्स शो करी हुई है इन नेचर इन फॉरेस्ट. ठीक है, फॉरेस्ट में ट्रीज है, डियर है, टाइगर है. ओके, दिस इज अ फूड चेन. These plants and trees, they are eaten up by this deer. Deer is eaten up by the tiger. Okay, in a grassland में this is a food chain. ठीक है, now in a pond this can be a food chain. Okay, so these are all food chains. Okay, now each step or level of the food chain, it forms a trophic level. ठीक है, autotrophs or the producers are at the first trophic level. जैसे इसमें 1 2 3, these all are first trophic levels. Okay, they fix up the solar energy and make it available for heterotrophs or the consumers. ठीक है, आगे consumers के लिए ये energy को available कराते हैं. Now the herbivores or the primary consumers come at the second, small carnivores or the secondary consumers at the third, and large carnivores or the tertiary consumers form the fourth trophic level. ठीक है, तो देखते हैं लाइक सेकेंड ट्रॉपिक लेवल पे जैसे ये डियर है, दिस इंसेक्ट. ओके, सो ऑल दीज आर सेकेंड ट्रॉपिक लेवल्स. तो इसमें क्या क्या आते हैं? हर्बीवोर्स और प्राइम कंज्यूमर्स. ओके, अब स्मॉल कार्निवोर्स और सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर्स दे आर एट द थर्ड वन, ठीक है, जैसे ये दिस इज द थर्ड, दिस वन, दिस इज द थर्ड ट्रॉपिक लेवल. And large carnivores or the tertiary consumers, they are the fourth trophic level. जैसे इसमें fourth पे ये snake है, इसमें fourth पे this is there, right? Now, we know that the food we eat acts as a fuel to provide us energy to work, okay? Thus, the interaction among various components of the environment, it involves flow of energy from one component of the system to another. ठीक है, ऑटोट्रॉफ्स जो होते हैं वो सनलाइट से एनर्जी जो मिलती है उसे कैप्चर करते हैं और कन्वर्ट करते हैं केमिकल एनर्जी में. नाउ दिस एनर्जी सपोर्ट्स ऑल द एक्टिविटीज ऑफ द लिविंग वर्ल्ड, राइट? Now, from autotrophs, energy goes to heterotrophs and decomposers. Okay. Now, but हमने एक previous chapter में पढ़ा था sources of energy में, like one form of energy is changed to another. Okay. When one form of energy is changed to another, some energy is lost to the environment in the forms which cannot be used again. Okay. So the flow of energy between various components of the environment has been extensively studied और उससे हमें कुछ results मिले हैं जो हम अब डिटेल में पढ़ेंगे, right? So figure 13.2 it shows like various trophic levels, ठीक है, initially producers, then primary consumers, फिर secondary consumers, फिर tertiary consumers, ठीक है. Now, green plants in a terrestrial ecosystem, they capture about 1% of the energy of sunlight that falls on their leaves and convert it into food energy. Okay? So these are the producers. Now, when green plants are eaten up by primary consumers, a great deal of energy is lost as heat to the environment. Okay? Some amount goes into digestion and in doing the work, and rest goes towards growth and reproduction. Okay? So an average of 10% of the food eaten is turned into its own body and made available for the next level of consumers. Okay, so this is the primary consumers. So 10% can be taken as the average value for the amount of organic matter that is present at each step and reaches the next level of consumers. Okay. Since so little energy is available for the next level of consumers, the food chains generally consist of only 3 or 4 steps. ये रीजनिंग क्वेश्चन आता है बहुत बार एग्जाम्स में, ठीक है, कि आप फूड चेन्स देखोगे तो जनरली 3 या 4 स्टेप्स ही होते हैं. उनमें क्यों होते हैं? क्योंकि हर स्टेप पे एनर्जी लॉस होता है, ठीक है, एनर्जी डिसिपेट हो जाती है अदर एक्टिविटीज में. तो हर स्टेप पे एनर्जी लेवल इतना कम होता रहता है कि बहुत लिटिल एनर्जी रह जाती है नेक्स्ट लेवल के लिए, ठीक है. तो लॉस ऑफ एनर्जी एट ईच स्टेप इज सो ग्रेट दैट वेरी लिटिल यूजेबल एनर्जी रिमेन्स आफ्टर 4 ट्रॉपिक लेवल्स. तो उसका कोई मीन्स बहुत ज्यादा अच्छा नहीं मानते उसे. Now, there are generally a greater number of individuals at the lower trophic levels of an ecosystem. Okay, greatest number is of the producers. आप देखो ये जो triangle बन रहा है इसमें भी नीचे ज्यादा हमने इसकी width ली है. तो producers सबसे ज्यादा होते हैं, उससे कम होते हैं primary consumers, उससे कम होते हैं secondary consumers और सबसे कम होते हैं tertiary consumers. Right? Next is the length and complexity of food chains. It vary greatly. Okay. Each organism is generally eaten by 2 or more kinds of organisms, which in turn are eaten by several other organisms. ठीक है? So generally means instead of a straight line food chain, the relationship can be shown as a series of branching lines. तो ये जो food chains होती है ये आपस में interlinked होती है कहीं ना कहीं. तो we actually get a food web, right? तो आप ये एक फूड वेब देख सकते हो. इसमें देखो बहुत सारी फूड चेन्स हैं जो आपस में इंटरलिंक्ड हैं, वो हमें शोन है, राइट? सो आप देख सकते हो दिस इज वन फूड चेन. ओके, दिस वन इज अनदर फूड चेन. ओके, दिस वन इज अनदर फूड चेन, दिस वन इज अनदर फूड चेन. ओके, सो कहीं ना कहीं इनका कुछ लिंक है, तो यू कैन स्टडी इट इन डिटेल. दिस इज अ फूड वेब. ओके, नाउ एनर्जी फ्लो डायग्राम अभी हम देखेंगे. उससे हमें क्या पता चलता है? फर्स्टली द फ्लो ऑफ एनर्जी इज यूनिडायरेक्शनल. ठीक है, एक डायरेक्शन से दूसरी डायरेक्शन में ही जा रहा है, वापस नहीं आता. ठीक है, एनर्जी दैट इज कैप्चर्ड बाय ऑटोट्रॉफ्स इट डज नॉट रिवर्ट बैक टू द सोलर इनपुट एंड द एनर्जी व्हिच पासेस टू हर्बीवोर्स डज नॉट कम बैक टू ऑटोट्रॉफ्स. ठीक है, ये तो आप समझ सकते हो. Now, as it moves progressively through the various trophic levels, it is no longer available to the previous level. ठीक है. Secondly, energy available at each trophic level, it gets diminished progressively due to loss of energy at each level. ठीक है. Another interesting aspect of food chain is how unknowingly some harmful chemicals enter our bodies through the food chain. फूड चेन के थ्रू ही हमारे अंदर कुछ हार्मफुल केमिकल्स एंटर हो जाते हैं. ओके. आपने क्लास 9 में पढ़ा था हाउ वाटर गेट्स पोल्यूटेड. ओके. One of the reasons is the use of several pesticides and other chemicals to protect our crops from diseases and pests. Okay. Now these chemicals are either washed down into the soil or into the water bodies. Now from the soil these are absorbed by plants along with water and minerals. ठीक है. यहाँ plants ने इसको absorb कर लिया, pesticides को, chemicals को. Okay, and from the water bodies they are taken up by aquatic plants and animals. Okay, so this is one of the ways in which they enter the food chain. Now, as these chemicals are not degradable, they get accumulated progressively at each trophic level. हर trophic level पे accumulate होना start हो जाएंगे. Now, as human beings occupy the top level in any food chain, maximum concentration of these chemicals get accumulated in our bodies. हम higher end पे है ना, हम top पे होते हैं फूड चेन्स में. ठीक है. तो बहुत accumulation हो जाता है. तो this phenomena is called biological magnification. Okay. This is the reason why our food grains like wheat and rice, vegetables and fruits and even meat, they contain varying amounts of pesticide residues. Okay. They cannot always be removed by washing or other means. मतलब ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है आपने कोई फ्रूट है, एप्पल है, आपने वॉश कर लिया तो इट इज फ्री ऑफ पेस्टिसाइड्स. नो, उसके अंदर तक पेस्टिसाइड एम्बेड हो चुका है, एक्यूमुलेट हो चुका है. राइट. So this is a diagram showing the flow of energy in an ecosystem. Initially sunlight होती है. ठीक है. Producers will take the energy from the sunlight. Okay. Producers आगे further energy देते हैं herbivores को. ठीक है. Herbivores देंगे carnivores को और carnivores देंगे top carnivores को. Right. So this is the flow of energy in an ecosystem जो कि unidirectional है. आप देख सकते हो like herbivores cannot provide energy to producers. No. ठीक है. यूनिडायरेक्शनल फ्लो ऑफ एनर्जी रहता है इकोसिस्टम में. So let us see activity 13.3 what it says. So newspaper reports about pesticide levels in ready-made food items. Okay, they are often seen these days and some states have banned these products. Okay, so what you can do, you can just form groups of students and you can debate in groups the need for such bans. Okay. So, see, why there is a need to ban such items? One is health hazard. ठीक है. पेस्टिसाइड्स की वजह से बहुत सारे हेल्थ इश्यूज हो जाते हैं जैसे हार्मोनल इम्बैलेंस. ठीक है. न्यूरोलॉजिकल प्रॉब्लम्स एंड इवन कैंसर. ओके. सेकंड इज कंज्यूमर सेफ्टी. कंज्यूमर सेफ्टी के लिए इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू हैव गुड क्वालिटी कंट्रोल. ओके. नेक्स्ट इज एनवायरमेंटल इम्पैक्ट होता है. ओके. पेस्टिसाइड को रिड्यूस करके हम सॉइल और वाटर पोल्यूशन को कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं. ओके. देन अनदर थिंग लाइक बैन क्यों नहीं होना चाहिए, इसमें हम ये पॉइंट दे सकते हैं कि इकोनॉमिक इम्पैक्ट रहेगा इसका बैन करने से. स्मॉल बिजनेसेस और जो फार्मर्स हैं उनको काफी लॉस हो सकता है इससे. ठीक है. और बैन करने के बजाय व्हाट वी कैन डू, वी कैन इम्प्लीमेंट स्ट्रिक्ट रेगुलेशंस and labeling that can help the consumers in a better manner. Yeah, so this way we can like have a small debate about pesticides. Next is, what do you think would be the source of pesticides in these food items? क्या source हो सकता है? And could these pesticides get into our bodies from this source through other food products too? Okay, that also we need to understand. So pesticides, see, they can originate from the crops used in food production. Okay. Contaminated soil, water, or improper farming practices, they can lead to pesticide residues in grains, fruits, and vegetables. Okay. And they can also impact other food products like fresh produce, dairy, and meat. वो कैसे होगा? थ्रू बायो एक्यूमुलेशन. जो अभी हमने फिनोमेना देखा था, बायो एक्यूमुलेशन की वजह से वो एक्यूमुलेट हो सकता है. राइट. So discuss what methods could be applied to reduce our intake of pesticides. क्या कर सकते हैं हम? First is wash and peel. ठीक है. अच्छे से वॉश करें हम फ्रूट्स वेजिटेबल्स को, पील करें जहाँ पॉसिबल हो, ओके। देन ऑर्गेनिक फार्मिंग, वी कैन ऑप्ट फॉर ऑर्गेनिकली ग्रोन फूड प्रोडक्ट्स, ओके। देन क्रॉप रोटेशन एंड नेचुरल पेस्ट कंट्रोल वी कैन यूज, ओके। फूड टेस्टिंग कर सकते हैं ताकि प्रॉपर स्टैंडर्ड्स रहें। Then we can spread awareness amongst consumers about the risks of pesticides. All these things can be done. Okay. Now we are going to see two questions, very important ones. What are trophic levels? Give an example of a food chain and state the different trophic levels in it. So trophic levels क्या होते हैं? They represent the position an organism occupies in a food chain. Okay, based on how it obtains energy. So example we can take as grass, grasshopper, frog, snake and hawk. ये आप एक एग्जाम्पल ले सकते हो, राइट? जैसे ग्रास से स्टार्ट करा, ग्रास है फर्स्ट ट्रॉफिक लेवल प्रोड्यूसर, ओके। ग्रास इज ईटन बाय ग्रास हॉपर जो है सेकेंड ट्रॉफिक लेवल या प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर। ग्रास हॉपर इज ईटन बाय फ्रॉग जो है थर्ड ट्रॉफिक लेवल या सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर। Then snake is fourth trophic level tertiary consumer. Then hawk is fifth trophic level quaternary consumer. This way we can have a food chain. Okay. Last is what is the role of decomposers in the ecosystem? तो ये तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है। डिकम्पोजर्स क्या होते हैं? जैसे बैक्टीरिया एंड फंगाई, ओके। दे ब्रेक डाउन डेड ऑर्गेनिजम्स एंड ऑर्गेनिक वेस्ट इनटू सिंपलर सब्सटेंसेस। तो इनका रोल क्या रहता है? बेसिकली न्यूट्रिएंट साइक्लिंग का रहता है। They release nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus back into the soil, which will enrich the soil for plant growth. Okay. Second is energy flow. Energy flow continue रहता है by breaking down organic matter. And waste management. So it will prevent accumulation of dead organisms and waste, maintaining the ecosystem cleanliness. So this is the purpose, right? So we study how do our activities affect the environment. Okay, so we are an integral part of the environment. Changes in the environment affect us and our activities change the environment around us. Okay, in class 9 we have seen how our activities pollute the environment. So in this chapter we will be looking at two important environmental problems in detail, that is depletion of ozone layer and waste disposal. ठीक है, तो पहला डिस्कस करते हैं ओजोन लेयर एंड हाउ इट इज गेटिंग डिप्लीटेड। तो ओजोन क्या होता है? O3, it is a molecule formed by 3 atoms of oxygen, while O2, which we normally refer to as oxygen, it is essential for all the aerobic forms of life. Ozone is a deadly poison, okay. However, at the higher levels of the atmosphere, ozone performs an essential function. क्या होता है ये? It shields the surface of the earth from UV radiation from the sun, ठीक है। This radiation is highly damaging to the organisms, like it can cause skin cancer in human beings. Okay. So ozone at the high levels of the atmosphere, it is a product of UV radiation acting on oxygen molecules. So the higher UV radiation split apart some molecular oxygen into free oxygen atoms. These atoms then combine with molecular oxygen to form ozone. ठीक है, क्या फॉर्मेशन होता है? O2 पे जब UV रेज पड़ती है, इट ब्रेक्स इनटू O+O और ये O एक O2 के साथ मिलके ओजोन O3 बना देता है, ठीक है। Now, amount of ozone in the atmosphere it began to drop sharply in 1980s. Okay, तो ये डिक्रीज क्यों हुआ? It has been linked to synthetic chemicals like CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons, which are used in refrigerants and in fire extinguishers. Okay. 1987 में UNEP, that is United Nations Environment Program, it succeeded in forging an agreement to freeze CFC production at 1986 levels. ठीक है? So it is now mandatory for all the manufacturing companies to make CFC-free refrigerators throughout the world, ताकि CFCs release ना हो और हमारे जो ozone है वो damage ना हो, right? So activity for you, it's like we have to find out from your sources like library, internet, newspaper reports, like which chemicals are responsible for depletion of ozone layer. Okay. So mainly CFCs. Okay. Find out if the regulations put in place to control the emission of these chemicals have succeeded in reducing the damage to the ozone layer, and has the size of the hole in the ozone layer ever changed in the recent years. Yes, initially it was increasing, ठीक है, size बड़ा होता जा रहा था hole का, तो that was a matter of concern health wise for human beings. Okay, तो उसके लिए काफी steps लिए गए हैं. Okay, after taking those steps, there is some like positive sign in this. Okay. Second one is managing the garbage we produce. Okay. So in our daily lives, we generate a lot of material that are thrown away. ठीक है, जैसे कोई प्लास्टिक बैग्स होते हैं या कोई प्लास्टिक मटेरियल्स हैं, मेटालिक पार्ट्स हैं, वी जनरेट अ लॉट ऑफ वेस्ट मटेरियल्स. ठीक है, वेस्ट मटेरियल्स क्या क्या होते हैं आप आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हो. So what happens after we throw them, that we need to think about. Okay. So activity 13.5 क्या है? Collect waste material from your homes. This could include all the waste generated during a day. क्या क्या हो सकता है? Kitchen waste हो सकता है. Spoiled food, vegetable peels, used tea leaves, milk packets, empty cartons. Okay. Waste paper. Then you can have empty medicine bottles, strips, bubble packs, old and torn clothes, and broken footwear. All means these are examples of all the waste material. Now bury this material in a pit in the school garden, or if there is no space available, you can collect the material in an old bucket, okay, or flower pot and cover with at least 15 centimeter of soil. Now keep this material moist and observe at 15-day intervals. So what are the materials that remain unchanged over long periods of time? ये ऐसे materials होंगे जो non biodegradable हैं, ठीक है? What are the materials which change their form and structure over time? ये change होंगे biodegradable materials, okay? Now of these materials that are changed, which ones change the fastest? जो बहुत जल्दी degrade होंगे वो fastest change होंगे, जैसे जो food kitchen waste होगा वो fastest change होना चाहिए, right? So this way you can study it. So we have seen in chapter on life processes that the food we eat is digested by various enzymes in our body. Okay. So have you ever wondered why the same enzyme does not break down everything we eat? Right? So enzymes are specific in their action. Specific enzymes are needed for the breakdown of a particular substance. Okay? That is why we will not get any energy if we try to eat coal. Because of this, many human-made materials like plastics will not be broken down by the action of bacteria or other saprophytes. Okay? These materials will be acted upon by physical processes like heat and pressure, but under the ambient conditions found in our environment, they persist for a long time. The substances that are broken down by biological processes are said to be biodegradable. Like, okay, so how many of the substances you buried were biodegradable? तो मेनली किचन वेस्ट होगा, जैसे टी लीव्स थी हमारी, पील्स, लेफ्ट ओवर फूड, वो सारा हमारा बायोडिग्रेडेबल की कैटेगरी में आएगा. ठीक है. Substances that are not broken down in this manner, they are said to be non-biodegradable. These substances may be inert and simply persist in the environment for a long time or may harm the various members of the ecosystem. जैसे आपको एक बहुत सिंपल सा एग्जांपल देती हूँ, जैसे the cow and other cattle they feed on the materials which are lying roadside. तो वहाँ पे अगर एक polythene bag पड़ा है, they consume it also accidentally, so it's life threatening for them, right? Now, activity says we have to use our sources to learn more about biodegradable and non-biodegradable substances. Okay, how long are various non-biodegradable substances expected to last in our environment? For like maybe thousands of years, right? Now these days new types of plastics which are said to be biodegradable are available. आते हैं ना biodegradable bags, green color के bags आ रहे हैं. So we have to find out more about such materials and whether they do or do not harm the environment. तो वो कुछ ऐसे material से बने होते हैं that can be degraded in the like nature, right? So here is a set of questions we need to answer. First is why are some substances biodegradable and some non-biodegradable? Okay. See, biodegradable substances वो होते हैं that can be broken down by the microorganisms like bacteria and fungi into simpler harmless substances. Okay. So this depends on their chemical composition. Okay. So and natural materials like plant matter they decompose easily, right? नॉन बायोडिग्रेडेबल सब्सटेंसेस क्या होते हैं, जैसे प्लास्टिक्स, मेटल्स, like they resist microbial degradation due to their synthetic or stable chemical structures, right? Next is give any two ways in which biodegradable substances would affect the environment. First is nutrient cycling. ठीक है, decomposition of biodegradable materials, it releases nutrients into the soil supporting plant growth. Okay. Second is methane emission. So in landfills, like anaerobic decomposition can release methane, which is a potent greenhouse gas. Okay. Third question is, give any two ways in which non-biodegradable substances would affect the environment. First is it causes pollution. So accumulation of non-biodegradable waste, it causes land, water and air pollution, harming ecosystems. Okay. Next is wildlife hazard. So animals may ingest non-biodegradable items like plastics, which leads to injury or maybe death of the animals. Right. तो इधर छोटी छोटी एक्टिविटीज हैं जिससे आप अपनी थोड़ी अवेयरनेस इंक्रीज कर सकते हो. ओके, सो यू कैन विजिट एनी टाउन और सिटी एंड वी आर श्योर लाइक टू फाइंड हीप्स ऑफ गार्बेज ऑल द प्लेस. ठीक है. Visit any place of tourist interest and we are sure to find place littered with empty food wrappers. Okay, so in earlier classes, like we talked about this problem of dealing with the garbage that we generate. Okay, so we have to look at this problem more deeply, right? Let us see one activity 13.7. So we find out what happens on the waste generated at home. Okay, is there a system in place to collect this waste? So you might be having a system, daily someone comes and collects. Okay, so you have to find out how the local body, that is Panchayat, Municipal Corporation, RWA, Resident Welfare Association, it deals with the waste. Okay. Are there mechanisms in place to treat the biodegradable and non-biodegradable waste separately? Okay, you have to see this. You can calculate how much waste is generated at home in a day. Okay, then how much of this waste is biodegradable. You can calculate how much waste is generated in the classroom in a day. Okay, how much of this waste is biodegradable, and you can suggest ways of dealing with this waste. Okay. Next is activity 13.8. It says like find how the sewage in your locality is treated. Are there mechanisms in place to ensure that local water bodies are not polluted by untreated sewage? Okay. And we have to find out how the local industries in our locality treat their wastes. Are there mechanisms in place to ensure that the soil and water are not polluted by this waste? This we need to check, right? So improvements in our lifestyle, they have resulted in great amounts of waste material generation. Changes in attitude have also play a role to play. Okay, with more and more things we use are becoming disposable. So changes in packaging have resulted in much of our waste becoming non-biodegradable. So what do you think will be the impact of these on the environment? Very bad impact. Okay, it can lead to pollution, increasing landfills, and all the problems. So let us talk about a small point, but बहुत important है, like disposable cups which you get in trains. Okay. So if you ask your parents, they will probably remember a time when tea in trains was served in plastic glasses. Okay. Which had to be returned to the vendor. Okay, ये थोड़ा old times में होता था. Introduction of disposable cups was hailed as a step forward for reasons of hygiene. Okay. One time use होते हैं, we throw them. Now, no one at that time perhaps thought about the impact caused by the disposal of millions of these cups on a daily basis. Okay, so sometime back we used to have coolers that were disposable cups made of clay. They were suggested as an alternative. Okay, now, but a little thought showed that making these coolers on a large scale would result in the loss of the fertile topsoil. Okay, now disposable paper cups are being used. Okay, now, what do you think are the advantages of disposable paper cups over disposable plastic cups? So, you can think of that. See, major advantage is that like जो plastic होता है, it is non-biodegradable, ठीक है? But जो paper होता है, it is biodegradable. It will be degraded over a period of time. So that is the major advantage कि environment पे जो impact है that would be lesser if you use paper cups as compared to plastic cups, right? So here's activity 13.9. It says search the internet or library to find out what hazardous materials have to be dealt with while decomposing the electronic items and how would these materials affect the environment. सी आजकल बहुत ज़्यादा इलेक्ट्रॉनिक आइटम्स हमें डिस्पोज करनी होती है, जैसे मोबाइल फोन्स हैं, लैपटॉप्स हैं, आईपैड्स हैं. ओके, सो लाइक व्हाट आर द हजार्डस मटेरियल्स, ऐसे कौन से हार्मफुल मटेरियल्स हैं इसमें? सो दीज इंक्लूड लाइक लेड, मर्क्यूरी, कैडमियम, ब्रोमिनेटेड फ्लेम रिटार्डेंट्स. ठीक है, बहुत सारे ऐसे मटेरियल्स होते हैं that can leach into the soil, okay, and water. They can contaminate the ecosystem and they can cause health problems in humans and animals, right? So ये इसके impacts हो सकते हैं. Next is find out how plastics are recycled, okay. Does the recycling process have any impact on the environment? Okay. तो plastics को क्या करते हैं? They are collected, sorted, shredded, washed, melted and remolded, ठीक है, into new products. Now, while recycling reduces plastic waste, it can still impact the environment. क्योंकि जो recycling process है, it will consume energy, release greenhouse gases, it may produce toxic byproducts also. Okay. And one more thing, not all the plastics are recyclable. Okay, this can lead to potential disposable, how to dispose them. Those challenges also are presented. Okay. So environmental damage कम से कम हो इसके लिए हमें e-waste management करना आना चाहिए and we should improve plastic recycling technologies as well, right? So this is our activity. Now we come on to the questions like what is ozone and how does it affect any ecosystem? Okay, ozone क्या होता है? O3 से represent करते हैं. It is a gas which is composed of three oxygen atoms. It is found in the stratosphere, forming the ozone layer, which protects the life on Earth by absorbing harmful ultraviolet या UV radiation from the sun. ठीक है. अब damage to this layer, it allows increased UV radiation to reach the Earth's surface, leading to health issues in humans. जैसे skin cancer, cataract ये सब हो सकता है. Okay, and it harms ecosystem by affecting plant growth, aquatic life and biodiversity. ठीक है. So it's really important. Second question is how can you help in reducing the problem of waste disposal? Give any two methods. So first method can be reduce, reuse and recycle. Okay, so minimize waste by using reusable products, recycling materials like paper, plastic and metal, and opting for eco-friendly packaging. Okay. Next is composting. We can convert organic waste like food scraps and garden clippings into nutrient-rich compost, which we can use for gardening. It can reduce landfill waste. Okay. So lastly, we have a summary of the chapter. हमने क्या क्या पढ़ा है? Various components of an ecosystem, they are interdependent. Then producers make energy from sunlight available to the rest of the ecosystem. Then there is a huge loss of energy as we go from one trophic level to the next. This limits the number of trophic levels in a food chain. Okay. Now human activities have an impact on the environment. Okay. Use of chemicals like CFCs has endangered the ozone layer. Very important. Now since ozone layer protects against the ultraviolet radiation from the sun, this could damage the environment. Okay. Waste that is generated can be biodegradable or non-biodegradable, okay, and the disposal of waste we generate is causing serious environmental problems. So here we come on to the exercises of the chapter. These are some objective questions. Let's do them one by one. First is which of the following groups contain only biodegradable items? कि खाली biodegradable items present है, ऐसे options को हमें tick करना है, right? So there are options like grass, flowers, leather, grass, wood, plastic, fruit peels, cake, lime juice, cake, wood, grass. Okay. तो आप इसमें से देख सकते हो this A, C and D. All these three groups they contain biodegradable items. ठीक है. B part में प्लास्टिक की वजह से प्लास्टिक नॉन बायोडिग्रेडेबल होता है तो this is not going to be the correct answer. Right? So three options are correct. सेकेंड क्वेश्चन इज विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग कॉन्स्टिट्यूट अ फूड चेन. फूड चेन किस में बन रही है आप देख सकते हो. लाइक ग्रास, व्हीट, मैंगो. नो. सो मैंगो विल नॉट ईट व्हीट. नो. ठीक है. ग्रास, गोट, ह्यूमन. सो गोट ग्रास को खाती है और ह्यूमन अगर नॉन वेजिटेरियन है गोट खाता है तो यस दिस कैन बी अ फूड चेन. ठीक है. गोट इज eaten by cow and cow by elephant. No, ये ऐसा कोई नहीं है हमारे पास. Then grass is eaten by fish and fish is eaten by goat. No, goat नहीं खाती fish को. ठीक है. तो हमारे पास B option is correct. ये हमारी food chain है. Right? Last is which of the following are environmental friendly perspectives. ठीक है. So carrying cloth bags to put purchases in while shopping. ठीक है. Yes, ये है. Switching off unnecessary lights and fans, yes, energy save होगी. Walking to school instead of getting your mother to drop you on her scooter, yes, all of the above. ये सारे environment friendly options हैं हमारे, right? So next is the fourth question. What it says, what will happen if we kill all the organisms in one trophic level? ठीक है, जैसे बहुत सारे ट्रॉफिक लेवल्स होते हैं आपके, एक पर्टिकुलर ट्रॉफिक लेवल पे सपोज 4 ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं, उन सबको आप किल कर दो तो क्या होगा, ये क्वेश्चन में पूछ रहे हैं. ओके, so what will happen? So killing all the organisms in one trophic level, it will disrupt the food chain, ठीक है, leading to overpopulation or extinction of species in adjacent levels, unbalancing the ecosystem. ठीक है, देखो इकोसिस्टम में अनबैलेंस आ जाएगा, ठीक है, फूड चेन डिसरप्ट होगी ऑब्वियसली, ठीक है. तो उससे क्या होगा, जैसे हर ट्रॉफिक लेवल एक दूसरे पे डिपेंडेंट होता है. जैसे सपोज हम एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं कि ग्रास है, ठीक है, ग्रास को सपोज गोट खाती है और गोट को टाइगर खाता है, ठीक है. तो अगर सपोज गोट को, सारी गोट्स को किल कर दिया एक ट्रॉफिक लेवल से, तो ग्रास बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ जाएगी, ठीक है, ग्रास की जो है ओवर पॉपुलेशन हो जाएगी, राइट, क्योंकि अब गोट उसे खा नहीं रही. और टाइगर्स का क्या होगा, टाइगर्स गोट पे डिपेंडेंट थे, अब गोट ही नहीं रही तो टाइगर किसको खाएंगे, तो टाइगर्स एक्सटिंक्ट होना स्टार्ट हो जाएंगे, राइट. तो कुछ स्पीशीज का ओवर पॉपुलेशन हो जाएगा, कुछ एक्सटिंक्ट होने लग जाएंगी और इकोसिस्टम में एक अनबैलेंस क्रिएट हो जाएगा, राइट. सो दिस इज द आंसर फॉर फोर्थ क्वेश्चन. Let's see the fifth question. Will the impact of removing all the organisms in a trophic level be different for different trophic levels? हाँ, yes, this is true. ठीक है, अलग अलग trophic levels पे removal का अलग अलग means effect होगा, ठीक है. Now, can the organisms of any trophic level be removed without causing any damage to the ecosystem? Okay. सी, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि किसी ट्रॉफिक लेवल के आप ऑर्गेनिजम्स को रिमूव करो और इकोसिस्टम को डैमेज ना हो, दिस इज नॉट पॉसिबल, ठीक है. तो फर्स्ट का आंसर है यस और सेकंड का आंसर है नो. ओके, नाउ अब हम जैसे एग्जांपल लें डिफरेंट ट्रॉफिक लेवल्स का, ठीक है. तो जैसे रिमूविंग प्रोड्यूसर्स और प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर्स, इट विल डिसरप्ट एनर्जी फ्लो सिग्निफिकेंटली, ठीक है, एनर्जी फ्लो बहुत डिस्टर्ब होता है उससे. And removing apex predators like tiger and all, this can cause overpopulation of the prey species, ठीक है, उनकी species बढ़ जाएगी, ठीक है. तो अलग अलग इफेक्ट होता है अलग अलग ऑर्गेनिजम्स का. Okay, next question, sixth one is what is biological magnification? See, biological magnification क्या होता है? It is the accumulation of harmful chemicals like pesticides in higher concentrations at each trophic level. ठीक है, हर ट्रॉफिक लेवल पे एक्यूमुलेशन बढ़ता रहता है. जैसे 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 ट्रॉफिक लेवल्स इंक्रीज होंगे एक्यूमुलेशन बढ़ेगा और हार्म ज्यादा होगा ऑर्गेनिज्म को, ठीक है. Then they are asking, will the levels of this magnification be different at different levels of the ecosystem? Yes, it increases as we move up the food chain, ठीक है. जो top predators होते हैं, they will experience the highest levels, right? Okay. Next we come on to the question number 7. What are the problems caused by the non-biodegradable wastes that we generate? इनसे क्या problem है? जैसे plastic है, ठीक है. So problem is that it will pollute soil, water, air. It will harm wildlife, block the drainage systems. It will contribute to landfills, ठीक है. It will pose an overall long-term environmental and health risk. Okay, so these are the problems. Eighth question is, if all the waste we generate is biodegradable, ठीक है, आप assume करो कोई भी waste हम generate करते हैं सारा biodegradable है, तो will this have no impact on the environment? ठीक है, see, biodegradable waste can also impact the environment. How? It can do so by releasing methane during decomposition. जब वो decompose होगा तो methane release होगी, ठीक है. So this can contaminate the water sources if it is not managed properly. कहीं पे water body के साथ mix हो गया अगर, ठीक है. And it can overload the ecosystem also, ठीक है. So this way it can impact. Last question is, why is damage to ozone layer a concern, cause of concern? Why is it so? So damage to the ozone layer, it allows harmful UV radiations to reach the earth, which can cause skin cancer, cataracts, and even harm the ecosystems. Okay. So what steps are being taken to limit this damage? So steps like Montreal Protocol, they have regulated ozone depleting substances. Okay. This is resulting in slow recovery of the ozone layer. So these steps are being taken. Okay. So by this we complete the chapter. I hope everything is clear to all. So if you have not subscribed the channel yet, you can subscribe the channel, learn with Nisha ji, and stay tuned to get very good marks in your exams and complete your syllabus. Thanks for watching the video.